the biggest piece of any transformation and the hardest is changing minds and behaviors of people. And once you've done that, then it becomes, you'd be surprised how long that takes. But once you've been able to convince people and they've seen the benefit, you'd be surprised at how quickly it becomes a pull versus a push.
Welcome to AI to Z. Hosted by Airswift's Chief Revenue Officer, Anna Frazzetto, we delve into artificial intelligence, health tech, and more. Tune in and journey with us into the future.
Hi, Fumbi, and welcome to the podcast today. Let me introduce you to the audience. So, Fumbi is a global CIO and has been a board member with over 25 years of experience in leading technology operations, digital transformations across many diverse industries and regions. Fumbi also holds a Doctor of Letters degree from the University of Hull. She's also earned her BA in politics and philosophy. You've been a CIO at Adidas, Fox Network Group, Burberry, and Walmart Asia, which incredible, impressive list of titles. I like to look at everybody's LinkedIn, kind of before getting on, even though we've known each other for many years. But I love in your About section that you talk about how you were born in Nigeria and that you're both a U.S. and a UK citizen. So clearly your global background and your heritage have allowed you to make a significant impact, I think, in every organization that you've touched. I had the opportunity to meet Fumbi when she was a panelist. She worked at Walmart Asia, and you were a panelist for an event that I was doing around cybersecurity and kind of CIO topics and initiatives. And she very casually mentions how, yes, we get about 1 million threats a day. As she was talking about cybersecurity, I said, we definitely have to connect and talk, because that was, you said it so calmly, but I couldn't imagine being able to manage and navigate that on a regular basis. So welcome, Fumbi.
Thank you. Good morning. It is morning here because, I don't quite know where in the world everyone is with this global thing. But I'm in dark Seattle this morning. So, Anna, it is always a pleasure to have this kind of conversations with you. I think this is our second one. So it is a pleasure to be here. And I'm so looking forward to just having a dialogue and just talking about, where life has been since we last had that panel conversation, actually, which was it in Vietnam, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Many, 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 many years ago. It's dating us, but it was good times.
It is. We won't talk about that as far as dating us. Why don't we start? I think a good place to start is, I know you have a tremendous background in transformation, digital transformation. So why don't we talk about what does it mean to be a transformational C-level executive today?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that question and we were, kind of deliberating on what to ask, and I, gave it a good thought, and I said, transformation, that's a big word, right? And I think I broke it down into several kind of layers, so to speak. I guess the first question is we need to define what transformation really means, right, for the company, right? And then determine what kind of impact that company wants to have or create. And then, because many times we use it so many times and say we want to do transformation, and it whether it's digital, whether it's enterprise, whether it's, growth, whatever it is. And then to me, a transformational leader, once they've done that, to say, what does it mean for the company? How do we then measure success? That in itself, for me, is transformation, right? Because you need to know what you're trying to solve for. Right. And then you then define what the framework that applies to that specific situation is. And I think that's what I would say that is what it is like to be a transformation, is define what the problem you're trying to solve, how you're going to solve it with them, and then agree that that is exactly what the expectation is. Right. as you and I mean, you're in the services industry, you probably know why, when you're doing debriefs of clients, they haven't been successful at doing X or executing Y, is often the starting point is they have not defined what the starting point is, right? And then don't know what the end is going to look like. So we need to define what that is and how we're going to achieve it, right? Operational excellence, helping the top line or bottom line, whatever that element is. And then the last thing is about communications. You've got to communicate and set the expectation that this is what we are going to do. This is what we are going to do together. This is what your role is going to be, right? As in what that change role is going to be, and then kind of go through it, go towards it. The other piece of it that we need to talk about is really, as you define that, it's transformation in whichever facet, kind, flavor that we put it, has got to have the support from the top, including the board of directors, right? It is not just a side project. It's not a project that somebody can do and say, okay, well, I'm doing it as well as, other things. It's got to gain the support from, the top onwards, as they're able to do it. And so any great transformation leader or organizations or teams are able to really break that down and help us articulate what that is. So to me, that's the simple, framework and logic that I use. Communication, support from the top, defining what success looks like, and communication. Communicate. Change agent. Change management is huge. So you've got to be able to be that change agent for the organization. But you can't be a change agent if I don't tell people what I am going to do and what it means for them. Right.
All right. You know what? I like the way you summarize it, because I think you hit a couple of key points. Knowing what you're trying to solve, that's a common problem that we see when we're talking to clients. A lot of times, you might have some management that just kind of wraps their arms around that we have to go through digital transformation. We have to do this, but yet not connecting it to what is the real issue? What is the real problem? How do you go about solving it? And developing a roadmap, quite frankly. That's what you're describing.
Yes, you have to. And I think many times, as I said, many people don't. We just jump into trying to do it and just hope. Right, it just works through, and unfortunately, many times it doesn't. And so organizations have to realize that. And also part of it is we also need to realize it's hard, right? The culture, the organization has to be ready for it, right? And then, you think about it. We as ladies often say, "Oh, I want to lose." It's not a lady thing, but oh, I want to lose this weight and blah blah blah. And then you go and speak to a nutritionist, and they say, "Well, you know what, Anna, you can't drink wine, you can't eat cheese, you can't have your coffee." You just name all the things that you do, or you have to now take in moderation. What happened? My reaction will be, oh, well, maybe next week. Not quite now, I'm like, what? Yeah, let's figure that out another time. What do you mean I can't put sugar in my coffee? Oh God, I gotta put sugar. So people have to be resilient. And many times organizations are not quite ready for that, right? You're going to have to move people, shift people off the seats, and they, worked with each other for gazillion years, and you've seen them grow, and now you're going to say, well, this piece of it is changed, or I've built this huge empire that now all it needs is this. Now you're going to be the one to say, oh, we got to... So it is. It's hard, and I don't think people quite put as much credence and depth and sophistication and understanding around how hard that is. And until we start doing that, that's what a good transformation leader does.
Right. And you, again, I think a great point that you're making here. How many times you're talking to an organization and the leadership says, no, we have to do this. We have to make these changes. We have to make these shifts. This is the way of the future. But then when it starts getting hard, to your point, they're not ready for it. And they kind of resist and push back. and then it becomes a little bit of challenge. But you're right. You need to address the cultural issues right up front.
Yeah. And it starts from the top onwards, right? And hold each other accountable, right? And I also think that the successful companies that have honestly done it really well at putting as KPIs as goals.
So let me ask then, how do you lead a successful digital transformation?
I'm going to kind of go through, what I said earlier on and just kind of follow through is we also have to know what's worked and what has not worked, right? And many times we don't talk about the failures, right? We don't talk about, we try, even whether you're new to an organization or organization has done something similar before, you often, recently, I've been leading transformation at BECU and when I joined 3.5 years ago, one of the first questions was, we've done this, it hasn't worked, right? So let's talk about what has not worked, right? And take the lessons and why it has not worked, right? And take the lesson to kind of explain what was then and what it is now that we're going to do slightly different. And I think people, employees want to understand that, right? And I think part of it is that back to that communication, right? Or you're able to communicate. I think also looking at it from their standpoint, right? Because it may or may not be a change for them. Many times you're not going to do a transformation that's not going to be a change for something or someone. So I think about communicating it in their lens, right? And I'm the chief revenue officer and you're telling me that I'm moving from a project to a product team. I have a team of, 60 people. What does that mean for me? What does that transformation, how does that impact me? Good, bad, or indifferent, let's talk about it now so that I can understand whether Anna is in with it or is not, and I have to do more work to help convince her why she needs to do this, right? And those are the kind of things where that's how, transformation, because if you put it in my lens and what it means for me, because even though we always say, we're doing it for the benefit of the company, yes, we are for the most part, but ultimately, we're doing it for ourselves because I want to know that I still have a job. I want to know that, the empire or the organization that I've built, even if it's going to change, by how much? So there's so many aspects that you have to really think about when you are leading a transformation. It's about the people, for the people, by the people, right? And I think that those are what you have to, it's a human thing. This is human psychology. Once you've done all the human psychology, technology or process change is secondary. The biggest piece of any transformation and the hardest is changing minds and behaviors of people. And once you've done that, then it becomes, you'd be surprised how long that takes. But once you've been able to convince people and they've seen the benefit, you'd be surprised at how quickly it becomes a pull versus a push. So then that's when the, demand or capacity is like, okay, I'm not doing you first, it's this, and, then we come up top with the prioritization. That to me is what a successful transformation looks like.
So I was getting excited as you were talking because this is where the psychology background really plays a significant role in being able to lead these transformations, because the biggest part of the transformation, I agree, it's the people part in the sense of getting them on board, but then like settling their nervousness, right? Because there's the unknown of what the future organization is going to look like. So then there becomes a lot of behaviors that get illustrated that might not be the behaviors that are going to make a successful transformation.
Yeah, and I've always used the analogies like no one has bad intentions, right? But we all have self-intentions. And once you understand that, it's an easier thing to get through, right? Is because, we all work for companies going, well, we value it for the employees, for the people, for the customers, it's, members, whatever it is. But ultimately, if that really is the case, then if you say you're going to pivot to the east, then you should pivot to the east, right? But we find resistance in pivoting because it's like, oh, God, yeah, I'm kind of comfy with the process that I've done and everything. And now they're asking me, yeah, I kind of understand that, but that's not me. And that's number one piece that people have to understand. And it will be broken for a while, and things will not work for a while. And yes, you may have to have a dip in, if you work for a public company, may dip your EBITDA, your profitability for a short period of time. But you have to share, discuss with the shareholders and your investors for a while to go up, right? So all that has to be open. You can't just say, yeah, we're going to do it, and all of a sudden I'm going to get the realization is not going to be instantaneous. It's going to be medium and long term. It's a long-term trajectory to help us get through it. So to me, that's the way in which you have to look at transformation, and leaders and board of directors have to understand that.
Agreed. I think what kind of fits nicely when we talk about digital transformation, it's also looking at how you define innovation in a business, because a lot of times I find those two topics are kind of related, intertwined in some shape. And when companies forget to innovate, that's where they start becoming stale and stagnant. So how do you define innovation in a business and help it
grow?
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, and I wanted to actually I'll answer the question around, but one other question I wanted to ask you is, how have you seen successful digital transformation as you've kind of gone through your journey and you're working with, partners and customers of what should we be thinking about? Because one of the things that we also don't think, as I think through this before we talk about innovation, which delves right into it, is we also feel like our problem is the only problem. We are unique in our problem. But yet, we want to do transformation to have that competitive edge, which many times probably creates standardization that everybody else does. But then when we work with partners, oh no, don't worry about that's unique to us. So as leaders, whether it's tech leaders, whether it's business leaders, we have to be also open, right, to listen to our partners. And that's what will make us successful, to be honest. Because you've seen best of all breeds and say, okay, knows another, if we apply this, is really going to be. So when you talk about innovation and transformation, that's where it dovetails. Because to me, an innovative leader, define innovation in business, is about change. It's about doing something different. It's about progressing forward. It's about creating efficiencies. It doesn't necessarily mean people think innovation is all about new things. It's not. People go, I tell my team all the time, be innovative. Being innovative does not mean I need you to bring me a new gadget. I just need you to see or redefine a new, I just need you to modify. Right? Because sometimes you've got the solution. All you just need to do is tweak it a little bit to get where you need to be. That to me, that's the most innovative. I find the most innovative folks, not the people that are generating new ideas. Because that's easy to do, because you're starting from a blank sheet of paper. The most innovative folks and businesses are people that disrupt their own business to create a new avenue or revenue or a new process, because they already know what's worked, they know the limitations, and then figure out, okay, what do we need to do to help us modify to help create that new product or new access or whatever. That to me is innovation, which then leads to change and behavior, which leads to transformation, right? So truly all kind of works with it. So it's about how do they look at it from that viewpoint. So to me, yes, there is the element of new things coming in, right? AI. Honestly, I mean, I'm sure that we will talk about AI, and I'm so excited that United States is the first one that's now taken it and actually having an executive order signed for a new technology to be adopted, incorporated. A few years ago, when we talked about AI, everyone's like, yeah, it's data, it's AI, we're going to write it. And now it's generative AI. There is no single conversation, and I'm sure you're going through, that no one does not talk about it, whether it's what the heck is it? How do we use it? Where are we? That is the most disruptive, innovative thing that has come into our lifetime beyond e-commerce, www. Right? And that was 30 plus years ago, to this, that it's like, it is here to stay. Right? But again, let's look at that innovation. It's been around. It's not a new innovation. AI has been around for a long time. The innovative part of it is now being tweaked, right? They've got enough data, and it's now, the LLM is now being a lot more intelligent to prescribe and articulate them. But the premise has been around. That is innovation. So that's how I define it in my long word. But I'm going to ask you, what are you seeing, and what are the trends, and how should we be thinking about it?
Right. So let me go back to your first question, as far as, like what makes a successful transformation. Honestly, Fumbi, you pretty much laid it out so beautifully for the audience. The one thing that I would probably add, which you alluded to, was typically the way we've done it is we need to have this meeting with the CEO first, and then have a meeting with the senior executives of the organization to make sure that there's buy-in, to your point. The other thing that we typically would offer is to talk to your counterparts, your peers, especially if they've gone through this transformation process before you. So not, it's not competitive. We're not divulging family secrets, but there's a way that you can have that conversation to make the team comfortable with the journey, and where are the pain points going to be? What are some of the triggers? But I would probably just add that little bit of color to what you said. And communication is key. There's always the fear of losing your power, your position, your team. If you have a team of 60 people, and now because of transformation it goes down to 10, there's an impact to that individual from a status perspective. But those are the types of things that you need to dispute and kind of put to rest. In regards to innovation, I agree with you. Innovation a lot of times is looking at it outside of the box, right? Like, you're in it every day. And often an exercise that I've done is I've had different teams kind of work on what the other function is working on, to kind of look at it differently. So if there's a particular issue or particular process that you want to change, so you have new lens looking at it. And then it becomes, now it could mean that, no, that's not going to work, but it challenges the team to be able to look at things a little bit differently, right? Slice it a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I remember coming out of college and people say innovation, you think, oh my God, I got to invent something completely new. You're spending all your time thinking, oh my goodness, how, so yeah, so I think we probably need to incorporate innovation in everything that we, our day-to-day lingo, because we're expecting more with less, right? And my approach and my philosophy is, why reinvent the wheel if it's already been invented? How can I leverage it? And your innovative mind is telling me which piece of it do I need to. Your intelligent mind, because you're much smarter than I am, is telling me how do I do it. Slightly different from what is being orchestrated. And that, to me, those are the kind of folks that I actually have, more respect for, because it's thinking, to your point, outside the normal box.
So Fumbi, I have to ask, as we're kind of getting towards the end of the podcast, one of my passions is diversity initiatives, women in tech. I've been doing that for a long time because I always related to my own personal journey. And there's nothing more rewarding than being able to help others around you. So how do you see your role, a woman of color, and the impact that you can make?
So let's first put credit to what credit is due, right? So progress has been made. Cool, right? I'd say the word hallelujah, but I want to be respectful from a religious standpoint. So we've made progress, right? Progress is we're making progress. We're making progress. However, right, we made a lot of progress, especially between 2020 and 2022. A lot of people say talk about diversity, and then summer of this year, affirmative action. Like, really, we've gone 5 steps forward and 7 steps backwards, but it's okay. Some companies go regardless. We've seen the benefits of it, and we're going to continue to do it. Some companies are no longer seen as an issue, so they dissolved their DEI organization. One of the things that I see myself as a role, just like data does, because we have to be very good around data and the empirical data. Data has shown us that if you have women in leadership roles, right, people like you and I in leadership role, your company will see great performance. And it has seen great performance. Just put that a notch a little bit and have a CEO as a woman. I mean, there are very few of them, but just go and read the success, right? They've done a lot of good things. So just add that nuance for me to say a person of color. I bring a different perspective, a cultural perspective, a different, society perspective that we may not always have thought about and think about. So I think I see my role as utmostly important. I see your role as a woman as utmostly important in that piece, because one of it also does is helps us realize that because as women, we lack confidence, right? That's why we talk about the imposter syndrome and everything that we do. So we lack that. And so people need to see that there are people up there and I can aspire up there, right? We also have to do, I not speak for myself, also have to do a lot more work to pull people up, right? One of the things that we often don't talk about is that, and people ask the question, well, why is it so hard of, people of color or women of color to bring other people up? Because quite honestly, Anna, people are still sitting there, even in their high roles, fearful of their roles, of their jobs. Because if I bring in more people that look like me, then am I now being labeled? So I'd rather be selective, which we shouldn't put anybody in that situation, right? If a man does it and all he does is brought a man in, regardless of color, sex, sexuality or orientation, we don't question that. So we still live, as I still live as a woman of color, I'm like, oh my God, how many people, brown, black people can I bring into the organization without being labeled? Because you will be labeled. You will be, And so that's the fear of that. Until we can take that away and believe that it's equal opportunity across, that's where that tiny incremental things, that's why we're doing tiny incremental changes. That's where the transformation will, again, using the word, will be a big impact. And so my role as a woman, candidly, is to start to really have those candid conversations. I think I also have the advantage of sitting on a board or boards where we do have those conversations. Okay, so what are we thinking about our talent? And they bring it as a, female, male, like, okay, well, how about ethnicity and diversity? And we should start asking those questions because we owe it. Those young people, my children, my cousins, my nieces, want to aspire. I need them to aspire more than I have done. I need us to have more Black CEOs than we've ever had. We only have 2 or 3 now in Fortune 100, and we're all celebrating. Well, why should we be celebrating that? We should have hundreds. So my role is to continue to be the advocate and help people through that. And I think you should be any diverse executive role is, whether it's Latinx or whether it's Asian or whatever, we need to raise them up and I always say I'm unapologetically going to do that because it is my duty to help people rise up, especially when they have the talent. And there's a lot of talent out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, Fumbi. It is, if every individual took a moment to hit pause and reflect on how they can help the next person out, we would notice our numbers skyrocket from enhancing and providing a more equitable environment for everyone across the board. Unfortunately, we've come to an end, but Fumbi, if you can leave the audience with one power word, what would you leave the audience with?
Oh my God, excitement.
I love that. Excitement. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Fumbi. It was great to have you here.
Thank you. You have a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us on the AI to Z podcast with Anna Frazzetto. If you found value in today's episode, consider following for more insightful STEM discussions. We'll be back with another deep dive. Until then.